It's a great pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure because to be at the Plymouth Manufacturers Group, what we do is all about manufacturing, and it's all about Plymouth. We are a company that has very, very deep roots here, and we're extremely proud to be in Plymouth. And what I'd like to do today is talk to you a little bit about, for those who don't know, about who we are and what we do. And then, more interestingly, as we go further into the presentation, I'll talk to you about what we've been doing, how we think about our business, and our plans for growth in the future. We've been in Plymouth for 55 years and have a very, very deep heritage here. What you're looking at is our headquarters on Newport Street with a wonderful view of Shit Creek. Now, in American parlance, you say Schitt's Creek is how the expression goes, but I was informed by our local historian, Adrian, that it's actually Shit Creek, so I'd like to just make sure I get that right. But Princess was founded here 55 years ago, and just in fact, the original shed where the first boat was built was just across the creek from our Newport Street headquarters. And so we really have taken roots here and not moved by 1 inch. We have 3,000 people who work here. We are a unique firm in the boating industry. We make everything ourselves. So when you see a Princess around the world, you can be absolutely sure that there's a very large part of Plymouth floating in very beautiful places around the world. Our competitors, who mostly sit in Italy, Poole, but mostly Italy and Poole, they don't do anything like the amount of local work that we do. They outsource a lot. They have subcontractors. In fact, one company that's listing on Friday, a public company called San Lorenzo, they actually only have 400 employees in the company, and everything else is outsourced in all other places around Europe. We have very, very strong roots here in Plymouth, and it's rather unique. And we think that on the one hand, while it might be viewed as being a constraint to the growth of our business, we view it as a very strong competitive advantage. And I'll explain to you why. And the fact that we're in Plymouth is something that we're very proactively selling. In fact, you might note, if you look at our brand somewhere here, our brand is no longer, our logo is no longer Princess, it's Princess crafted in Plymouth, England. And so Plymouth is part of our brand. So I'd just like to talk a little bit about where we are. All of our operations are focused in the Plymouth area, from Langage, 2 exits up the A38, and Lee Mill, well, 1 exit up, Lee Mill, 2 exits up. I'll talk a bit about more than those in a second. Coypool, where we make all our components, just behind the Sainsbury's. We have Newport Street, where our headquarters is, and South Yard, where Sir Francis Drake kept the British Naval Fleet. And so everything we do is located within a 10-mile radius of our headquarters. But we actually are also a very international firm. We have offices in Hong Kong. We have an office in Fort Lauderdale. We have an office in a far-flung country called London. And those places employ a grand total of 5 people. So we do have a significant portion of our 3,000 people who sit outside of Plymouth. We are very, very focused on Plymouth as a company. So let's talk about our factories, just to give you a brief overview. Lee Mill, which is just off of the A38, is a facility that specializes in the complete manufacture of our smallest boats, our V40, our V50, and our F50 flybridge yacht. These are yachts that will cost from 300,000 pounds to £500,000 on the market. And in that facility, they do all of the moldings of the hulls and the decks, as well as the assembly of the complete boat. So glass fiber and raw materials go in, and a beautiful luxury yacht comes out. Langage is similar in its size. It is making the same types of operations. It does molding as well as assembly, but the boats are mid-sized boats. So we have our F55 flybridge, our brand new V55 sports boat, the S&V 60 and the S&V 65. So yachts that go from 55 foot up to 65 foot. That's sort of $1 million to £2.25 million list price. Coypool, traveling down the A38 towards Plymouth, is probably our most interesting facility and what really makes us unique. We have almost 1,000 people working there, and every component that goes into a Princess yacht gets made there. We make our own furniture, we do our own metalwork, we do our own fuel tanks and other tanks, we make our own wiring looms. We pretty much make everything that goes into a yacht except for the electronics, the engines, and some specialist equipment like anchors and things like that. And this is one thing that truly makes us different. Our competitors will tend to outsource all of this to manufacturers across Europe, but we keep everything local. It costs us a bit more, but it gives us a unique competitive advantage that we can respond to customer tastes. We can be very responsive if there's a problem or somebody wants something modified. Well, we make it ourselves, we design it ourselves. But most importantly, when we bring a customer, and many, many customers come here to see their boats in build or to buy a yacht. I was just with a customer from the south of France today who's purchased a £3 million Y78, and they will go to Koipool and they see the craftsmanship that goes into what they buy. And all of a sudden, this concept of paying a little bit more for something because it's a princess evaporates, because they see the value that's going into it. They see craftspeople taking raw materials and the quality of the materials that go in and hand making it and hand finishing it and steaming wood to bend it around corners. And then they can relate to when they see something on the boat. They've seen how that's made, they've seen how it's different, and it creates real value. It's a true handcrafted luxury product. And so this ability to explain that this craftsmanship that exists here in Plymouth is something unique to Princess, and you don't find this in other parts of the world, you don't find this in our other competitors, is something that gives us a unique competitive advantage. And that all takes place here in Koipool. In fact, I was just musing with Adrian earlier that I would reckon that our Koipool facility is probably one of the largest furniture manufacturers in the UK. We make, Ben, you were there for a while. How many pieces of furniture do we make a year?
I think it was about 12,000 bits a week.
Yeah, there you go. So multiply that by 48 and you get to a very large number. That takes us down to Newport Street. Newport Street is what we would call, in a car company, you'd call it a flex plant. It's where we make everything else, except for the very big boats, which I'll come to in a second. We make in that the brand new R35 superboat, which is carbon fiber, 50 knots, a very special yacht. We make our F45, we make a 62, a 70, all the 78s and the 85. So we make boats that go from £500,000 up to £4.5 million for an 85-foot motor yacht, the Y85. And so this is a very complex facility. We also do all of the milling of the foam to make the tools to make future boats. So there's really lots of stuff that goes on in addition to being the headquarters where we have our management and product development as well. And then finally, we come to South Yard, which is a fascinating facility. It's a very large facility because we make very, very large yachts. We have made boats up to 40 meters there. We're now focusing the company on a new range of yachts, which is 95-foot large or 30 meters, where we're going to be making it in very high volume. We're on literally a moving assembly line, but a 30-meter yacht. And that's all built in South Yard, where Sir Francis Drake kept the British naval fleet. All of South Yard is really steeped in history. And one of my favorite stories is there's an expression when you talk about the red thread in an argument, or in French you'd say le fil rouge, which even comes from that. And the red thread means the sort of the common theme that carries through an argument. And what that came from was the British Navy used to put a red thread in all of their ropes so that you could identify that rope as belonging to the British Navy, so the Spanish Navy wouldn't nick it or something like that. And these ropes were made in a ropery, and the ropery in South Yard is where we actually use to build all the mock-ups of our future boats. So we are actually creating this blue thread of what it is to be a princess in the building that was famous for the red thread. And it's really, it turns out to be a uniquely suited building to to making mock-ups of boats, because it's very, very long and it's just the right width to fit a model of a boat, full-scale models. You can see a picture down below. We have craftspeople who build the boats out of every deck, every cabin out of plywood. There's only about a dozen of them, but they make a perfect model of every future boat, which we can walk around and spend some time on. And it's just like being in the south of France on a yacht, except it's indoors in Plymouth and a little bit damp and cold in the winter. But it's a unique environment in which we can make, which we can create something which is the future of Princess. But the thing that is most important is not our facilities, but it's our people. Making yachts is not simple. We cannot hire people off of the street to come in and screw things together. It is complicated. Everything is safety critical. While it's not quite as complex as an aircraft, if somebody does not attach something correctly, a boat can sink. So we have to have very stringent quality controls. We have to have a lot of training. The cycle time for a boat, it will typically spend a week or two in one station. And so the person's job is not to spend 45 seconds putting the same part over and over and over again, but there's a very broad job description for everybody. And the yachts are very large, they're made in low volume, and there's often a certain degree of improvisation or fettling that's needed to get things to be just perfectly aligned. It's a very, very skilled job. And so for us, being able to build a workforce that understands what it means to make a princess, and keeps that knowledge, and most importantly, transfers that knowledge on to the next generation is really important. And indeed, the generational thing we really do see in spades in our company. I just attended a Long Service Awards afternoon tea. The cakes were delicious, thank you, Paul. But we had in that room of people getting their certificates for over 25 years service, we had over 2,000 years worth of experience of service in Princess, which is pretty remarkable. We have in one facility, we have 3 generations of one family working in the company, grandfather, father, and son. And that's something that's really unique. You don't see that too often. It's not just about experience, but it's also about creating a family, a group of people who have a strong bond to the brand, so much so that they want to pass it on from generation to generation. And it also, our people are also serving as fantastic role models for hairstyles. The guy up the top right, towards second from the right, is I'm going to be working on that when I grow a little bit more hair up here. But let's talk a little bit, and finally, while I made a joke about us not being that international, what we make is extraordinarily international. We have a range of distributors around the world, many of whom have been with us for decades, who represent our brands extremely well and take care of our customers extremely well all over the world. Everywhere there is warm weather and water, you will find Princess Yachts. Whether it's in the US, I just came back from a very successful Fort Lauderdale boat show where we sold 15 yachts, which was our second best year ever. Obviously in the UK, that's a boat traveling through Dubai at the time of the Dubai Boat Show. We were just down in Australia for the boat show in Sanctuary Cove in the Gold Coast, big show in Singapore, Cannes Boat Show in the south of France, and up there is our annual pilgrimage to Boot Dusseldorf, which is the largest boat show in the world in Dusseldorf, which takes place in January, and we have the largest stand in the largest hall in Dusseldorf. So we are literally the queen, or in our case, princess of the Dusseldorf Boat Show. So that's who we are, but let's talk a little bit about what we're doing. And I'll give you a bit of perspective on what I saw when I joined in 2016 in Princess. Is what I saw was everything I've just talked about. A fabulous brand making fabulous boats with a lot of potential to grow further, but to grow in an intelligent way. And when we looked at it, there's a temptation to come into a company saying, oh, I've got a better idea. We should do everything differently. We should do everything new. We need to reposition the brand. We need to change everything. But actually, a lot of the things, most of the things about Princess were beautifully positioned. It presented a wonderful opportunity to take the raw materials that were there, the raw ingredients, and bake a better cake. And so the most important thing that we decided to do was to leverage the base values of Princess. What makes a princess, and what do we not want to change? And first of all was this concept of the 50-year heritage in Plymouth. That's something that we were just starting to sell, and we really wanted to underline that. Because it's a very evocative place. A lot of people, we may feel that we're far away from London or other places, but as viewed from the rest of the world, it's a lovely place to come. It's by the seaside, and it's got a very rich heritage. It's something that we can sell. I did come with the best Thanksgiving, I'm an American, so I do celebrate Thanksgiving, best Thanksgiving toast ever when I went to my Thanksgiving dinner and pointed out that I'm I'm the true pilgrim because I started my day from the Mayflower steps and then went for my Thanksgiving dinner as the pilgrims did. But that's the type of stories that people can relate to. It's about craftsmanship. The things that we do to make the boats, which some of our competitors may view as a constraint, we view as an opportunity. We talked about that. And it's also about British understatement. We are reserved in what we do. The focus on making our yachts is on seakeeping and on making yachts that are yachts for people who use yachts. They have places to store things. They're very spacious. You get on it and you say, whoever designed this boat has spent time on a boat and they know how to operate one because it's a proper yacht. And that's something we didn't want to lose. But what we did want to do was give a little bit of sprinkle of luxury and to the brand, to take these wonderful ingredients and raise them up a level. And to that, we decided that we wanted to push the brand very decisively into the luxury space. Now, it's kind of an oxymoron because we're making yachts that sell for up to 15 million pounds, and the least expensive yacht that we make is 300,000 pounds, and it's kind of hard to argue that that's not luxury. But yet, as a brand, we and many of our competitors don't act like luxury brands. Many yachts are sold like carpets are sold in a souk. Build as many as you can, stock them up, discount them, push them, whereas we wanted to be a bit more elegant in the way we presented ourselves to the customers. So we put a renewed focus on quality and design. We put a focus on technology and advanced architecture, the architecture being we've tried to rethink about how we design and build a yacht, putting things in different places, being creative, trying to break the mold of what we do. We manage the supply of our yachts. It seems a little bit counterintuitive, but one of the first things you do if you want to build more is to build less. Because if you don't have an order bank, people don't want you in the luxury space. If you went to a restaurant and there were lots of tables available, you'd be less inclined to go there than one where there was a bit of a line out the door and it was difficult to get a reservation. And so you do need to create this image of I know we're trying to sell you something, but you can't have it. And so we spent a lot of time convincing our shareholders that we needed to reduce production, and that would build us into a situation where we could therefore afterwards gently increase production and grow in a much more structured way. And finally, we wanted to communicate the brand values in a way that was a bit more creative than scantily clad beautiful people lying on boats in warm weather, which everybody does. And frankly, when you've seen one boat advertisement, you've seen another boat advertisement, and we don't advertise enough to cut through the noise anyway. So whatever we did needed to be a little bit edgier to gather people's attention. And then on the sort of more hard nails industrial side, we have a very complex operation, and we wanted to try to simplify it a little bit to help us support our growth through some clever different ways of building boats, through the platform approach, spending a bit of money in our facilities, and really focusing on improving the quality of our boats through a right first time approach to building things. So let's go through a few of these things and I'll show you more tangibly what we did. So when we talk about a luxury brand, to me, there's four pillars that make a luxury brand. And this is not just about boats. This is about any product. So we'll start from the right and go to the left. The first one is care, taking care of the customers. When I was fortunate to have spent 10 years before I came to Princess, starting the road car company for McLaren. And when we launched the first car, the 12C, we were all very proud of ourselves, and Clarkson punted one around Dunsfold and gave a fantastic review, and we were all really chuffed. And when we came into the office, we sat down with a management team, and I said, look, we should all be very proud. We've created a fantastic car, but we were only halfway there, because the cars may be great, but if we don't take care of the customers and there's quality problems and we can't take care of them, then we're finished. Nobody has the time to buy a toy, which is what a supercar is, that gives them a hassle. They still want something that they can be taken care of, and as long as they're taken care of, we're okay. That's even more so on the luxury yachts. You have very wealthy people who are very time poor, who spend millions of pounds to buy a yacht, and often they'll be able to use it for 2 or 3 weeks in a year. And they go down to their boat in Sardinia or in Corsica or in the south of France or in Mallorca or in the Caribbean or wherever it may be, and they hop on board and they're just ready to go, and they've got the champagne on board and the lobsters, and something doesn't work, and they say, oh yeah, you need a new whatever, and but we'll send you one in 3 weeks. That doesn't work for them. Yeah, their holiday's gone, it's finished. We need to be extraordinarily responsive in the after-sales care that we give, and so this customer care is an extremely important element of what it means to be luxury, to really take care of the customers. Heritage is another thing. New brands have a great deal of difficulty. Why? Because they don't mean anything. We have this wonderful story. We've made 17,000 yachts in our history. People know about the seaworthiness and the quality of our yachts. And we have a story to tell. We can talk about our birthplace in Newport Street. That picture there is actually the first Princess being made, and somewhere in there is David King, I think, pushing the boat in or pulling it out, whatever they're doing. But we have a long story to tell, and being able to tell a story is extremely important. Luxury brands are all around storytelling. Provenance, this is where Plymouth comes in. We really want to sell Plymouth, but Princess comes from somewhere. It's not an innocuous international plain vanilla brand that you don't really know where it's from. It's about being from the Southwest. It's about coming from a place with a 400-year nautical history. That's what Plymouth is about. And finally, authenticity. When you come and buy a Princess, everything is made by Princess. It's real. You get what you pay for. And these are brand things that we took each one of them and said, how can we underline these in the way we design and build boats, but also in the way we communicate boats? So we talk about craftsmanship. This is an idea of just showing you some of the details of things. This is from our S78 sports yacht. Some of the things that we do that other people just wouldn't do because they don't have the capability to make it in-house. Little details like the stairs, which curve up in the front. That's complicated. It's more expensive, but we do it because we can. And these are the types of things which, for us, we can sell to a customer and make it different and highlight the craftsmanship that comes from Plymouth. Our production system is now completely focused on what we call no fault forward, which is another way of saying right first time. You build it, it's right, and then it moves forward on the production line. If it's not right, it does not move forward in the production line. We have a huge amount of work focusing on perceived quality, making parts that not only are well put together, but also look very beautiful and exude quality. We have new process controls in. We have a lot of feedback now from what goes on in the marketplace to feed back directly to the line in real time for faults on the boat, so the line managers can see what's going on. We have a lot of monitoring projects which we're investing in that allow to give us as management visibility, which all feeds back into the design process to create a virtuous loop of making things properly with very high quality. And we've been very, very busy this year. Now, this is just all the boats we've launched in the last 12 months. We have the R35, we have an F45 on the right, V55, V78, Y85, and the X95, which is almost completing its build of the first hull in South Yard. And now I've been very naughty because I haven't spoken to my CFO, but I've decided, given that we have so many successful, enthusiastic people here, that we'll be offering 50-pound vouchers towards the purchase of any of our yachts over 2 million pounds. For the ones under 2 million pounds, it'll be 25 pounds, but you understand. So the way we build these yachts is also rather unique. We're doing lots of things, but we're trying to do more with less. And so we've come up with a very unique approach to designing our yachts, which is a platform approach. It's used very successfully in the auto industry and other industries, but strangely not so much in the yachting industry. So when we look at a hull, in this case the 78, you can see on this yacht the layout of the boat with the engine room, the master cabin, 2 guest cabins, a VIP cabin in the front, a crew cabin in the rear. Once we've designed that yacht, we can develop literally different body styles, very different concepts of boats that use exactly the same layout and hull, but have a very different position on the marketplace, and were built in exactly the same line. So we've been broadening our product range extensively, especially in the upper segments, which are very profitable for us, by doing it this way. So all 3 of these boats, the Y78, the S78, and the V78, are all built on exactly the same hull, on the same line, by the same people, with a huge amount of carryover of parts. We create very distinctive boats. on a common line. This is allowing us to broaden our product range without necessarily broadening our industrial footprint. To give you a flavor of some of our new yachts that haven't come out yet, so you're amongst the first to see them. This is our new Y95. This is a sister yacht of the X95, which I talked about before, that's in build in South Yard. This will be a 6,200,000 pound boat, minus 25 pounds, 50 pounds, over 2 million. In the back is her sister, the X95, the first one of which is going to be launched in just a few weeks, along with a baby sister that will be launched at the beginning of 2021, which is the X80. This is a very unique architecture of yacht, which I'll talk about later, but has really changed the game for us. This is our F63, which is an evolution of our F62 flybridge yacht. This will be launched in April of next year. And our Y72, which is a new mid-range yacht, which will be launched at the very, very end of next year. So you can see as well, we're trying to keep the brand values of what makes a princess, but move the brand much further towards the future with much higher design quality and perceived quality. And when we talked about cutting-edge communication, I honestly didn't think when I joined the Princess and said to our marketing director that we needed to think about doing things a bit differently, that we would launch a 600,000 pound carbon fiber superboat by doing a film with Japanese cartoon characters, but yet we did. I don't know whether that was successful or not, but I do know that there's a heck of a lot of people that talk about it, and that's what we try to achieve. It's different. It's not about, people look at it and say, hang on, what's this? This is something new, this is something different. What's going on with this brand? We actually launched it. We launched a cartoon movie that was about a 3 or 4 minute clip, and then we previewed it in the Cannes Film Festival with sort of preview posters for this as when it was going to be launched, because the Cannes Film Festival was right before the Cannes Boat Show. And this has all been successful. This is our order book. If you go back to the beginning of 2016, we were sitting on about 150 million pound order book, which really wasn't enough, sort of nine or 10 months. We've now built that to, at the moment, it sits at 422 million pounds. These are firm orders placed by dealers, many of which are retail sold to customers, and it represents an over 15-month order book. We have some yachts which have a 21-month order book. And with this type of order book, there's a temptation to say, let's grow quickly, let's hire lots of people. But honestly, we'd rather keep the order book, because the order book gives us a buffer to economic swings up and down and creates this sense of wanting to, of not being able to have a yacht, which we talked about earlier, which we are trying to foster that desire. It's also helped us build a market-leading position in boats under 70 foot, between 35 foot and 70 foot. Princess, crafted here in Plymouth, is the market leader in brands in the yachting industry. We're not yet there in the very big boats, over 96 foot. To be honest, we're number 4. We don't really want to be number 1 there because it's a bit complicated, but we will be, we believe, shortly, in a few years, number 1 in 70 to 95 foot, where we're focusing a lot of our investment. We're very clearly pointed towards that end of the segment of the market. Most importantly, our customers love us. For anybody here who might be in marketing, there's a marketing measure called an NPS, or Net Promoter Score, where you ask people, what do you think of the brand? And you take the people who really, really love the brand, and you subtract from the people who don't really like the brand, and you get a net score. And our score is 67%. In this case, we had 75% of the people that we interviewed at the Dusseldorf Boat Show, and we had an outside firm do this. This wasn't us asking our customers. 75% gave us a 9 or a 10 out of 10, and 8% gave us less than 6. So you take the 75%, you subtract the 8, and you get 67%. Our competitors were at 30%. The NPS scores for large international luxury firms, Harley-Davidson, Apple, Gucci, BMW, Hermes, are all lower than that. So this is an extraordinarily high number. And that's honestly the most important thing to us, that our customers who have the boat and use it every day and get taken care of, really relate to the brand and really love the brand. And the financial results have followed. We've grown substantially from 15 to 18, and the profits have followed. To be honest, I think if we had to do it over again, we would probably try to grow a little less sharply in 2018. It has caused some growing pains, and we're going to level out this year and next year stabilize things before we grow again. But certainly, if we take a look at the market, at the demand for our boats and the order book, what we've done as a strategy has really rung true to our customers. So, I'm going to just finish off with a few lessons of how we like to think about our business and what we as a management team think about when we think about what we need to do to continue to make Princess successful. One is be different. We are fortunate to be in a lovely industry, but one that's very crowded with a lot of people that make very similar products. And one way to ensure success is to make products that people cannot, that competitors cannot compare to. It's different. It sells on its own merits. When somebody says, yes, but the competitor can sell it for 5% less expensive, and you say, yeah, but it's completely different. What do they have? You know, look at all the things that this boat does. It's a different yacht. And it sort of takes the customer off their feet. Then they can't really compare on price. They have to decide, first of all, which boat do they want, and if they want our boat, then they're going to pay what they're going to pay for it. And one boat where that's been very successful is our X95, which we've just launched. We're just finishing slot 1. What's unusual about this yacht is we've completely moved around where things sit on a boat. So there is no helm station on the main deck. We've moved it only up to the flybridge, which has allowed us to bring the main deck all the way to the front of the boat, creating a saloon that's 60 feet long. That's allowed us to then extend the flybridge the full length of the boat. So we like to joke, we're not making a luxury yacht, we're making an aircraft carrier. It's got a flybridge deck, which extends the full length of the boat, with not just a flybridge in the rear, but a flybridge in the front, and you can walk 360 degrees around. And then there's a saloon on the flybridge, which has the helm station, but also another big living room. So this is a 95-foot yacht that has the same space as a 35-meter yacht. So the way I like to say it, it's the world's smallest 35-meter yacht. And this is very, very different from anything else. Customers can't compare it to any competitor's yachts, and it's really struck a chord. The boat that it replaces, when we launched it, had 2 customer orders at the time of launch. On this one, we already have 9, and there's a gentleman coming from Kuwait on Monday with a check in hand, and if he likes the boat on second viewing, we'll have 10. And that's a wonderful, wonderful position to be in when you're just starting production of a boat, because it gives us security that in that line in South Yard, until the middle of 2021, we're building boats for customers. The second thing is don't be shy. We do some things that are brave, and we're quite understated and quiet, but we need to shout about who we are from time to time. Not be arrogant, and not be brash, but be confident enough to, if we make a boat that's more expensive to make and more beautiful, don't be shy in pricing it at a premium price. Don't worry if it's higher. Take some risks. Try to do some things that are different, because trying to do things the same way as other people will get you into a position where you just end up with the same results as everybody else. Grow carefully. There is a temptation, as I mentioned, and we certainly have it now with such a long order book, is to throw as many resources as we have to try to build as many boats as we can to have the year to end all years in 2020. But we're more interested in making sure that we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of Princess than just having a banner year in 2020. And so resisting the temptation to respond to a sudden spike in demand and get boats to dealers, when we have our dealers demanding, crying at us to make more boats, customers complaining, but I want a boat for this summer, can't you just make me one more? Just to say, no, that's not our strategy. We have an order book, we have a production rate, this is what we're going to do. If we see long-term sustained demand, we may tweak it a little bit in one direction or another, but we want to have some stability. And having that self-control to be careful about an opportunity is very important for us. And finally, celebrate our heritage and our people. We're very fortunate to have been here in Plymouth and have a company that was built off of the back over 54 years from the people of Plymouth. Those are the people that got us here, and these are the people that are going to get us to where we're going. So we're very excited to be here, and we're very excited and looking forward for another 54 years in Plymouth. Thank you very much.